Hiya! Today I would like to record a video for you, and it's in response to Stephanie's comment asking if I could show if I use them as watercolors, as you would watercolors, how they would behave. And that's great. I love that question because that's how I very often use them. Sometimes I use a pen or a glass nib, but more often than not, I use them as watercolors. And using them in this way can be very satisfying. Just to tell you what this video will be like, I had to split it into two parts because it took just too much time. I ended up being way too rambly, and it's just the sheer amount of the inks that I was testing as well. So this video will be split into two. The second part will be a bit shorter and will come out a bit later. Not sure when yet, but if you want to watch the full version with all the paper types, do check out my Patreon, because that will be available there much earlier. I will leave the link down below in the description so that you can go to it if you wish so. But yeah, so I would like to show you some of my inks, and I will try them all as if I was using them like watercolor. So I prepared some sketchbooks. The watercolor one, which I'm showing now, will be in the second part of the video, so when it comes out later on, or on Patreon. And then I have one from Odd Orange. I'm running out of it. It's like a mixed media sketchbook. Very smooth paper, very good for drawing, but yeah, I think that'll be a good one to try. Camera from the future here. I had the best intentions to show my inks in a lot of different sketchbooks, but that video became 95 minutes long, so I am cutting that out. Let's do this. I do not have any order. As you can see, I have plenty of inks. I will try and organize them at least into brands or something like that, so that it makes a little bit more sense. And this messiness just represents who I am, so I hope you don't mind too much. Painting with inks. Let's start on this page. Is everything in focus? Yes. Okay. So let's start just by I feel like if I dip every single ink just to write with it, it would be too much. So maybe that's for another video. Let's start with just painting with them. And in fact, let's start with a nice watercolor on a nice mixed media paper, and then if we find any that are really good for what we're testing it for, then I'll use the watercolor paper. And then if this time we have some backup or extras to try out. Okay, I hope this isn't, I think that way it won't be a very, very long video. Okay. Organizing them slightly by color. So let's start with Diamine. So these are fountain pen inks. They're very inexpensive. They come in plastic bottles, which is not, well, unless you buy a bigger bottle. This bottle is glass. Yeah, the small ones come in plastic bottles. They're very inexpensive, so they're very good value for money because you can just try out a lot of colors, and yeah, they're very nice. They're very watery, but good, if that makes sense. Okay. So I'm going to use some brushes because I think that's more suitable. As much as I'd want to do the whole thing, I think it will just be way too much for not just me, but also for you. So this one's Diamine Yellow. A lot of their inks have very nice names, but this one in particular is just called Yellow. Not very much like watercolor, but I imagine you can use it as a base for, like a base layer for your painting or something like that, like an underpainting. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll start with a blob of water. And in fact, I know sometimes it doesn't work out on first try, so let's try both. I like two. And I don't have my white It's quite worn. I think I need a new one. Okay. So what I'm going to do is drop a bit of paint in. And I think I'll come closer to the screen if I can. And oops. And just to see how it's moving around. There's not much movement, to be honest. Some inks have very, very beautiful, I would call it granulation. I know it's not, probably not called that, but this one doesn't. It's when the ink goes, it's just so lovely to watch. And I love doing that with watercolor paints. The super granulating ones are really good for that. So the next one is called Orange, as the color, the same as the color. You'll see later that there are some more creative names from Diamine. But orange isn't it. Okay, so I just made my brush loaded with just water as much as I could. And this one kind of seems like it's spreading a bit better. Or maybe I'm doing the test better now. I think that's quite nice. Okay, let's add more. I'll add more water to one of the puddles. Okay, I need my brush. Much movement here either. What I'm looking for is this explosion of color, although it's a lot better than the other one. Yeah, definitely in terms of like being like watercolor, not the nicest, but that's not what it's meant for. Like this ink is really nice and not opaque, but saturated, and that's why I got it. So it's not necessarily how like they're not meant to be used as watercolors. So I wouldn't say there's anything wrong with it, especially at the price they're sold at. They're really they're probably, if not the cheapest, they're one of the cheapest, and yet really popular and really good. Okay, now we have oxblood. So you see, it's no longer called like primary color names. It's really strange because it kind of does look like what the name suggests. Try not to think about it. Okay, some water. This kind of have a bit of movement. Has a bit of movement, which is interesting. I think I'm using a bit too much water on this paper. It's good for like wet media and mixed media, but I think I'm using just a bit too much. And this one is doing more interesting stuff. Do you see how it moves? It's a bit more reactive. That's a word I came up with, by the way. I don't know if that's a proper word. But it's... I kind of want to do it there. But you can kind of see here how it's separated a little bit, which is what I was looking for. Okay. Not bad, oxblood. I wonder if these inks will look different on the watercolor stock, but it's a lot more expensive, so I'm going to use it sparingly, but I might try a couple. Maybe I pick the best ones. I think this one will be also in a similar vein, so I'll try and use that on the same page as the other ones. This one has a lot of movement in it as I paint. You probably see it more. Oops, was I off shot? Sorry about that if I was, and I made a mess. This is normal for me, so I just embrace it now. I'm used to it now. Are you a messy painter or maker or creator, or are you more tidy and controlled? I'd love to know. Please tell me some of us there, some of you out there are messy. Because I know I am. This one's called Apple Glory. Okay, let me bring it. I can see what will happen in a minute. I will spill it everywhere. So protect myself from myself. Okay. Something really strange happening. It's not like watercolor. And yet it's blooming. I call it blooming. I hope it's called blooming, but if it isn't, it should. This is interesting. Or maybe I'll see how the other ones do. But that's a good candidate so far for the better paper. So put this one on the side for now. This is very smooth stock, so it wouldn't move as nicely as on like more watercolor paper. We've done these three and this. Okay, Earl Grey. We'll do Earl Grey. I almost spilled this ink because I was opening it at an angle, and then my brain just fizzled out. So this one's Earl Grey, like the tea, like what Picard is drinking. For those of you who watch Star Trek. This one's nice. You can kind of pull it along. That's cool. I just realized how many pages I will take, and this obviously needs to dry now, so I'm going to make them slightly smaller here. Because the drying time will be adding. Not to you, to me only. Okay. I think my blobs are too watery. Or maybe I need to dry my brush too. Like, it's not helping for sure. I hope you could see how it was reacting, and it was quite nice. And I heard this term a lot today, and I think it's called separating, where two colors kind of separate from the original ink. Well, I can see some different shades pulling through. I think this would be nice when it dries. Leave it to the side for now. By the way, I know there is at least one or two really good ones coming soon, so they are coming. We will see some granulation. This looks the ox blood. Let me just check. Am I insured? Ox blood is looking really fun so far. As it dries, I made this brush dirty. This color is Onyx Black, and I should write down the name of Earl Grey. Tea Earl Grey hot. I can't speak. I thought I will trick my brain to saying it properly by quoting Star Trek, but yet I didn't. This one's Onyx Black. Onyx Black. It's quite dark. It's lovely. Something tells me this might be a separating color, so ink, so that I think we will start seeing other colors pulling through. And it's nice and draggy. You could see how it was kind of following my brush along. Okay. keep standing up and my knee, I've been injured in my knee. I keep hurting it a little bit. This is nice. Can you see that? Sorry for the camera shake. I paused the camera. This is very lovely. This is what I was talking about. This is a very good candidate. I could talk about inks all day, which is why I'm trying to be strict about this. It's only so much people can watch on YouTube. Like, no one wants to watch a 2-hour video. And I certainly don't want to watch myself. Like when I edit the video, I don't want to. So yeah. Okay. I'm not going to lift it up now. I think I'll either zoom in or if there's a really good one, which I think this one might be actually. So we'll stand up for you. But I'll limit my standing up time because of my knee. But this looks really good so far. It's lovely. I'm going to close this. This color is beautiful. It's one of the ones I was gifted or kindly passed on to me. And I absolutely love this color. It's also draggy. New word I made up. When you pull the color and it follows your brush along, it's called draggy. And this one is Eclipse. Okay. You can see how, hopefully you can see how these colors are separating, but once this is dry, I will hold it up to the screen so you can see, or rather to camera, so you can see this better. And I have another grey one called Moondust, and this one's a shimmer ink. So that means that if I shake it up, I'll release some shimmer particles in it, but I'll use it without the shimmer first. Shimmer. Sometimes my English just doesn't work properly. So this is a normal, how it looks without, like when it's not properly shaken up. Not very exciting, but it's grey. I just realized I should be using this one for my skies, potentially. If I dilute it with water, it could be quite an interesting effect. Especially on like if I painted like a rainy day or something. Cloudy day. I think it lost its shimmer, although I can sort of see it. I'm not sure, maybe it needs more of a shake. It's been a while since I used this one. I just tend to stay away from shimmer ones because I use a lot of like fountain pens and I worry about like damaging. I mean, I shouldn't need to worry about this brush, for example, because it doesn't break the bank. It's an accessible one. But I already discolored this pen and I only used it on a few times because it colored. Okay, I don't have much space to test the dragginess. It's not much to it really. It's not the most, for what the box, the packaging promises, it's not the most exciting ink. I think don't know if it's meant for fountain pens. Probably not. I can see the shimmer, so later on when I hold it up for you, you will be able to see it. And this one spreads nicely, so it's sort of like some of Watercolours, some of my favorite Watercolours. It may be that I'm just focusing on the features of Watercolour that I particularly enjoy. If there's anything that you want me to, or any ink that you want me to kind of use a bit more, do let me know. I've definitely been inspired to do this by Stephanie, so yeah, definitely appreciate you giving me any suggestions of what you might want to see. It's much nicer to record something that I know someone will actually be interested in, and it might help them make some decisions, or like, yeah, it's nice. Moondust. It's sort of like Moondust. Look. I don't know if this one is meant for fountain pens, but it doesn't say anything anywhere on the packaging, so I would say it's not a fountain pen ink, especially because of the particles. It might damage your pen, so I wouldn't recommend that. Let's do another blobby. Okay. Yes, we found one. And unfortunately, I won't be able to tell you what brand it is. And I'll explain why in a second. But it's a sad story, because I kind of assumed that it was going to not be that great. And everything will be clear in a second. I just want to do this properly. Also, it's worth mentioning that some of these inks will be waterproof once dry, or claim to be. I'm not testing that today. Again, that's for another story for another day. So much stuff that we can test and try out. So this one is called The Ink. And because it didn't have a brand, I assumed it was like a cheap ink. But actually it's the best black I've ever had. Like, even Onyx black doesn't seem to be as nice. So yeah, I hope I can find it again. I have an inkling that I know which like set it came with. This one's definitely a good candidate for the other tests for later. This one's again Diamine India ink. So this one's for dip pens only. And it's a dense black ink, it's waterproof. So a bit different to the previous ones, which were more sort of aimed at fountain pens. I'm not 100% sure if this one is, so I probably wouldn't put it in my fountain pen. This one's The Ink. I would love to give it more credit, but I can't, because it's been a while since I got it, so... Okay, let's give this one a whirl. I should look into it. So I used it for dip pens originally when I was doing my 500 days of lettering. Oh, this is so satisfying. This will be great to test on the watercolor stock. I really love this. Again, so India ink is black ink used for not fountain pens, dip pens. It's very deep black. It sort of reminds me of maybe Payne's Grey in a little bit. Obviously, it's very black, so. So it's a bit different. Lovely draggy ink. Didn't do it properly. Oh well. Please forgive me if you're watching this and cringing at how I'm doing this test. I'm more of a sort of person that doesn't necessarily try and do things the right way. I just like experimenting and checking stuff at the page and seeing what happens. Let me know I mean, if it bothers you, I apologize. That's just how I am. Maybe I don't apologize, but yeah, it's just how I am. I hope it's fine. But yeah, I'd love to know. I made a mistake. That's all. Oh no, there's one more. Yeah, but I'd love to know if you're more of a experimental, messy art creator or more organized and tidy. Would be interesting to know like where the split is and what your preferences are. I always love my viewers to be a little bit involved. I love seeing your comments, and one nice thing is if you comment about something, other people will be able to see that. So I don't know, I think it was a couple weeks ago, I had someone post a couple tips and suggestions, and I think they're not just useful for me, but they were also useful for me. They're also useful for other people who are watching it in the future. So yeah, feel free to comment. I always check my comments. This is a lovely ink. It's, oh, I didn't tell you. This one's espresso. It's a 50-year anniversary one. I think there's 150 years, sorry. It's like a special edition one for, often it's called pens, but I don't know if that's where it came from, because that's the one of the gifted ones. Okay. This one's espresso. A lot of them are sort of separating, granulating kinds, so that would be a tough choice for later, for picking them for the other sketchbook. I'm going to let them dry and I'll be back later. Okay, so now that the page is dry, I can show it to you up close. So this side is not the most watercolor-like, although these two colors kind of feel quite good. And then we have these. This is what I meant about separating colors. So you can kind of see the kind of dark bluish black and then this brownish. It's kind of a really nice effect. Quite like that. The onyx black looks quite fun. But we have a few similar ones. So I think maybe the ink, the unbranded ink. Or maybe I should use this one. I don't. Yeah, we'll see how many others there are. But there are some strong contenders. Contesters? I can't come up with the proper name. Word. This one's quite nice as well. The Moondust shimmering ink. We need to move on to the second page. I think we can carry on. So the next brand will be Vinta. They make quite nice inks, which I think my gut feel is telling me that they will be quite nice for this. Maybe I'll put down the names of the colors first, so then I don't forget. So the first one will be Sirena. Is it Sirena or Sirena? Starting with some... I think I left a bit less space for these, but I can make do. I'm sure we'll manage. Okay. This is quite nice. This is quite a watery ink, unless the one I have is. Obviously I was gifted this, so I'm not sure if someone maybe potentially added some water to it, but I think this is how this ink is for me. It's quite nice. I love the color. And we'll see what happens on the page when it dries, but I like the feel of it for painting. When I paint, I just spread these inks out, and I kind of don't even pay attention to them much. So I kind of randomly pick ones that I know I want to paint with. You can kind of see a spoiler on this one, how it looks when it dries. It's kind of nicely separating, like a stronger color and then more brownish one. I think, oh, I forgot. Okay, let's start with this. This London Grey is quite a nice one. To me, it feels like almost watercolor. It's in water now. Yeah, the separation here is beautiful. And this one is just, I don't know, I just love it. Such a good one. I've used quite a lot of it already. Even though like the bottle wasn't full when I got it, when I received it, it's still one that I keep using a lot. I think this should be better. It's one that maybe if I run out, I might buy extra. Or maybe I will try like a different color from Vinta. So that was London Grey. It's not very grey, it's very blue, so it's quite cool. I really like that. But also observe what Vinta Sirena is doing. It's just magical. I love that. Okay, and let's do teal. I can't quite see where the ink is in the bottle. Oh, it's quite a lot. Just look at these colors. This will be more visible here for you. It's pretty much like almost black. Only it's not, because it's kind of like a greenish. I don't know if this is how teal looks normally, maybe, but it's just so lush. I think I need to put this one in my fountain pen. I don't know why I haven't yet. This is so pretty. It's definitely a good one for a fountain pen, and it's got, oh, it's just so pretty. Sorry, you probably couldn't hear me. I was just whispering that it's so pretty. I'm just dropping some paint water here just to kind of show this effect. But I absolutely love this. This is beautiful. Okay, now on to two of my favorites. I always felt like Parker ink was, I don't know, I always was prejudiced against it. I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know why. It sounded boring, but I don't know why, because I never tried it, so why would it be boring? But this one's Parker Quink, and this one's blue. I should write that down. Let's swatch it. Yeah, definitely let me know if you're watching this and you were and you're Stephanie or you were interested in inks, whether I'm showing you the things you wanted to see or whether I should experiment with them more, or if you have any specific things you'd like me to test, and I can make that happen. I think the water is getting a bit murky, but I don't think it affects this ink much. Okay, I have to quickly do something. I'm back. Let's carry on. This is a beautiful ink. I just love how it's just satisfying to use. You know, sometimes you come across something that you just really love, and this is one of them. It just feels smooth. It feels like velvet. It's hard to describe it, but it's just so fun. And the color is really... I was never into blues. I don't know, I didn't even have many paints in blue. But recently I'm sold. Cool. Let's do the black one. I believe Parker ink is specifically designed for fountain pens. I do have a Parker fountain pen, and it comes with cartridges, but they look very similar to this ink, so I think it might be the same ink. This is my favorite ink by far. I use it in my fountain pen. Look at this spreading. It's like feathering kind of thing, but not the bad feathering when you write on something and the text goes bigger than you write it, if that makes sense. And this is the ink that's in this pen. This is a TWSBI Echo, and it's got it's not a converter, it's like a container inside, which means you can, it's ready for your own ink, which I loved. I found when I was looking for my first fountain pen, I was very overwhelmed by hearing about all the converters and things like that. It's too much for a beginner, and I found TWSBI and I'm like, do I ever need any other? I mean, maybe. I might be buying some new pens and I'll be able to compare them soon. But they're really good and they're inexpensive, so it's nice as a starting one. This one's like almost the biggest one, so this one's like medium, I think. And there's also a stab, and I'm really wanting to get a stab one. Stab, as in like, oh, I don't know where that came from. Weird. I'll try and collect that because that's not the right, it won't be the right test. This is the teal, somehow it managed to transfer. Maybe it was on the jar. I'll just clean up a bit. I can show you a page in the other sketchbook where I've already swatched this one out. But it's very deep black. Not blue. It's my mistake, but hey. What mistake? I was right all along. Sometimes I shouldn't even start joking. I cringe at my own jokes. There you are. That's the black one. Close that. For our next one, this is also one of my favorites. It's Rohrer and Klingner. I can't. Rohrer and Klingner. Schreibtinte in sepia. It's for fountain pens, steel nibbed pens, dip pens, and other writing utensils. Yeah. I'll put that down. you can start seeing like blue bits coming through. Blue bits, like it's starting to separate nicely and it's looking really fun. Okay, this one's a fun ink. Even though I guess sepia isn't the most fun sounding color. The bloomability is looking great. Okay, I think I might have used not enough water on this, but too late now. Pretty sure I used this one in my fountain pen, but it's kind of like a paint, like a watercolor paint. Yeah, it took me a long time to realize that I could just use them as watercolors or like not just for calligraphy, and that's when the collection started expanding. Also like discovering fountain pens really helped. This is weird, it's gone grey. I think it's maybe because of my water. So for the next part of this swatching, I will have fresh water. Now that magically my water appeared, we can carry on. Smokescreen by Robert Oster. I'm very inconsistent. I should have put down Robert Oster at the top. I love this pen, so juicy. Okay. Cool. Make sure my brush is clean. I'll move this out since we probably won't be using them. Put them back into their boxes. Okay. I have no idea how long this is going to be. Like, I haven't checked the length of the footage yet. Hopefully this won't be too long. I really hope to be under an hour. It's only so much you can watch. Unless you're a fanatic and you all love it, then why not? By the way, let me know what length videos you prefer. I tend to think that shorter, like between half an hour and an hour, is probably good enough, depending on what it is. Sometimes I want to watch something really quick, but if I want to find out more information about something and there's a lot of stuff shown, then I don't mind slightly longer ones. Like I love a good chatty sketchbook tours and things like that. But yeah, I'd love to hear from you about that. This is a really lovely ink. It's kind of much better when it's not diluted with water. But it's still very nice. And I guess if you wanted a light wash, then you can achieve it. And it's kind of like granulating watercolor. And when I add the water into it, it blooms because it seems like this ink doesn't like water, which you can use to your advantage, because you can use that property to create a certain effect. Like a nice interesting pattern or something. Or you can use it as a light wash and then it's kind of very predictable. Okay. This one I got from my partner. It's by Herbin. And I thought I'd love it. The smell, it's a scented ink. the scent is perfect, the color is perfect, but it's got clumps in it because it's got bits, I imagine, bits of lavender in it, which is interesting. I mean, in certain circumstances, you probably like can use it to your advantage, but I find it a bit awkward. The scent, though, smell it, smell it. The scent is very nice. It's very lavendy. I just realized I could have been practicing my handwriting here. I'm kind of trying to write nicely, but not really paying too much attention. I'm currently attending an online lettering bootcamp, so yeah, lettering is on my mind. But also having done Birdfest, I was making lettering for each bird by hand using a brush pen. And then over time I realized that it was taking... Oh, how lovely is that? This is what I'm looking for in like watercolors usually. So I love this. It's a very similar color to this one, to Parker Quink, but the properties of this lavender one are very satisfying. It's very like as if there's some chemicals in it, but I don't mind that because if you do wet on wet, it's very interesting. I do like a weird thing. It dries extremely fast. Like I was hoping to drop some in here. I'm going to do it anyway here. So if I'm really fast, I might be able to drop some water in here because something tells me it will do something interesting. Maybe not. Well, maybe I was wrong. But yeah, I think this could be really fun to play with. You can create a very nice light wash and it's very like consistent color. It dries really quickly and something tells me that it bleeds. I don't know why. I can't remember if it does. This one doesn't. My super old sticker, I had it on my pencil case. Really, this is from when I was learning lettering, like in 2018 or something, 2017. I didn't realize we were on the last page. Yay. I'll have to draw something on the last page, I think, just to celebrate. This sketchbook has been really good. It's by Odd Orange Art and the paper is great for drawing and mixed media. I cannot recommend them highly enough. Okay. This one's recently, so I bought it and then I found out that there's a bit of a controversy about this brand, Ferris Wheel Press. Apparently they used AI to create their cover, the packaging. Yeah, so bear that in mind. I already have it, so it's a bit too late now to change my mind. I already used it. I talk a little bit more about this ink in my Jackson's art. No, one of the recent art supply hauls, which I thought was just Jackson's art, but it was ink. The one when I test ink. I can link that up as well for you. I hope I remember. And if I don't, someone recently was very nice and reminded me of, I've forgotten some links and they reminded me and I was able to put them back in. It's really hard, like it's hard to remember. This one it's not fantastic. I thought I was getting a different shade of green. I don't know why, I got super excited for it because I was waiting for it for a while to be available from the shops in UK. And then I bought a slightly different shade of green. Oops. Talk about inconsistency. This is an artistic choice. I swear. I promise. And this is Moss Park green, and what I wanted was the other one, the other green. It's a really pricey one. I think the bottle was like over £20. Well, way too much for a color you didn't even want. It's nice, I won't say it's not. It's just not what I had in mind. It happens. I learned my lesson. I always try and research everything very carefully. And I have like a mini swatch book for when I go out and buy art supplies. Not to get duplicates, because that happened a few times. It's a bit annoying. Yeah, this ink, it's a bit flat, but it's a nice shade. I haven't tried it in a fountain pen yet because I don't have one. That's free. Like, yeah, I already have them inked up. So this is it. I wanted to show you a couple, not specifically inks like this, but kind of alternatives. I could do an entire video just swatching acrylic inks and things like that, because I have a whole... Actually, I might have... These might be... Some of these inks are what I had in my calligraphy box, but there's a few more. So I recently bought this Liquitex. This was my first Liquitex ever. This one bleeds, so I will use it very sparingly. And this one, it's not like what... I doubt you can use it like watercolor because it's acrylic. So you can't really put it into a fountain pen because you probably break it. Still have some green on my brush. I guess you kind of can. I'm always very... The reason I never had much acrylic ink was because it's not water soluble. Once it's dry, you kind of... If you leave it on something like a paintbrush and you don't wash it thoroughly, you will have broken your paintbrush. And that was what I was talking about here earlier. This pen, you might not see it very well on the video, but it's gone yellow and I only use this ink once on it. And it's completely discolored. Even though I washed it immediately after using, it was still late. It didn't damage the glass because it's not like a metal nib, but it was still a bit sad. It's less pretty. Yeah, I guess you can use it like that. I won't be doing much with this just because I need special paper for it. And I don't. If you have any recommendations on paper for acrylic ink or ink that bleeds, I would love to hear them. And I'm sure other people who watch this and look in the comments will appreciate that. So please share. I found one that was for ink and washes. I haven't tried it yet. It's a bit of an expensive sketchbook. So I'm kind of weighing up the options, whether I want to spend that much money. But I would love to hear your thoughts. And actually, while I'm on the subject, since I said it bleeds, I want to try it very quickly. Oh yeah. On this Rhodia. And I think I'll try it on the first page, because if it bleeds, at least it will bleed on the pages I already don't care much about, because I already filled them in. You can kind of use the pipette to paint with it, or you can just do this. It's a lovely color, and I'd love to get more different colors, but yeah, I need to be sure I can actually use it on something. Like, you can use it and not care about the bleeding, but it just, there's something about it that annoys me a bit. We'll see in a minute how it fares. And then the last one. I can show you a couple different options. This is liquid watercolor. Sorry. This is liquid watercolor by Ecoline. Let me just cough off. Okay, that's better. These are watercolors. I have white here, but I'm going to take out a colored one, just so you can actually see it on this paper. And I also have a lovely set of watercolor ink, which is very similar in nature. Don't have much space on the paper yet left, so I'll just squeeze them in at the bottom because it will take a while for it to dry. These are the inks that these are the watercolor. They're not called inks, so I guess they're watercolors that you can use to refill Ecoline brush pens, and I've successfully done one or two, and I even altered the green color, so I can confirm that they work. You can see my video from Jackson's art haul where I talk about it a bit more. But yeah, let's try these. Which color should we pick? You can mix and match them. You can mix your own colors, and in fact I have mixed my own skin color and then put it in a small jar and closed it and put like a little swatch on the jar, so you can mix them and they stay usable for quite a long time. I checked today even, and it's still perfectly usable. So this is the Ecoline. They're very watery but very concentrated at the same time. And I think since we don't have that much space, I'll just drop it from the pipette. They're kind of weirdly saturated. And this is like a cooler, much cooler green. This color is 205. So that's Ecoline. I could maybe do like a whole video. I think it would be more suitable to show when I maybe talk about Ecoline, like brush pens in general. I kind of feel like I'm a bit rambly, but a few of you told me that you don't mind rambly videos. In fact, some of you liked it, so maybe it's not a bad thing. It's a really weird thing that, you know, you can do when you record videos for YouTube. You're kind of talking to yourself, kind of. There's no one here sitting with me, and I'm just talking into the space. Oh, I just used too much. This is a lovely watercolor, but again, it's not ink. It is ink, sorry, my bad. I'm not sure, but I think it's a I think it's a European brand imported for GB. It's a brand you can buy in Lidl, so I take it. You can buy it in a lot of countries, and it seems like it's a German brand because it's got Strasse in here, which is usually a German name, German word. It's got some 2-methyl 2H isothiazole 3,1, which might cause allergies, so here's a warning in case you were interested. Yeah, and this box came with a few different colors. They're really nice, but yeah, I won't be focusing on these in the video today. As always, let me know if you'd like to see them more. Okay, we're going to move into, oh yeah, I should probably show you a bit more of a closer look. So Vinta, it's got a lovely, like, it's got 2 different colors, and it dries really funny. It's got kind of like an afterglow effect, and I've watched some videos today and I know what it's called, but I've forgotten the word. Then we have London Grey, which I thought was my favorite out of the 3. But now I look at them, I think teal would be my favorite. It's got a nice sheen, which on like flat paper like this, I think it's quite impressive. So yeah, it's a lovely, really nice, like jewel color almost. Then we have Parker Quink. It's got a bit of sheen, as much as the black one probably. And they're both really nice. This one has like a second color coming through when it dries, especially with added water. It's almost like watercolor, and I'll show you a comparison in a second. I have a few pages in my other sketchbook where I've swatched out some Payne's Grey watercolors. And this is the sepia one, and I love it for writing. I don't love it on paper, but it's probably kind of useful. I just stay away from browns, so I used to have a thing against blues. Now I have a thing against browns. Well, maybe one day I'll like them. The smokescreen is probably the most beautiful one. Maybe teal. I don't know. I like them both a lot. Really lovely. It's got this watercolor quality to it when it dries. And then Herbin or Herbin, don't know how to pronounce it. Really nice. There's a lot of feathering like on the edge of this, which you wouldn't want from a fountain pen ink. It could be to do with the fact that there's like gunk from the plant or whatever it is in the ink. Maybe I just got it out, I don't know. And then Ferris wheel. It's kind of disappointing, especially for the price. I think you pay a lot for like the nice packaging, not just the ink itself. I haven't tried it in the fountain pen, so it might be that it works perfectly in the fountain pen. I don't want to test them yet because I might love it. And the Liquitex, Ecoline and Marabou. Okay, this is the last voiceover of this video. I hope you enjoyed this and it wasn't too long. I hope you have a lovely day artsing, and until next time. Alternatively, see you on Patreon. Okay, bye!